And so welcome to today's session, Special Education Tips for Black Parents. And so just a little bit about myself. I'm Dr. Campbell. I have my doctorate degree in educational leadership in 2008. I've been in education for 24 years and counting, a racial equity consultant for 12 years and counting. I've written a total of 12 books thus far, 7 on racial equity, 5 on marriage. I'm also fortunate enough to have a course that's been approved by the Pennsylvania Department of Education. It's a 12-week racial equity course, and it's actually titled after the name of my first book, which is Promoting Positive Racial Teacher-Student Classroom Relationships. And so there is a contest that I'm going to talk about at the end of today's session, and those rules are forthcoming. And so let's look at some of the special education stats. Now, if you notice and you look at these stats, Black, Asian, and Hispanic students are close to their population percentage. But if you look at white students, they are way under. And so they are not proportional at all. And so that's one of the reasons why I wanted to talk today, because I think, and I know that Black students, Black parents need to take a vested interest in our children. I mean, they have a vested interest, but take an additional interest and some additional strategies to help eliminate this. Parents, and focusing on parents is important because parents actually make up the major portion who report or who decide to refer their children for special needs. The others are teachers as well as other school officials. And so let's talk about a little bit about what special education is. Special education has been called special needs, aided education, exceptional education, or special ed. It is the practice of educating students in a way that addresses their individual differences and special needs. There are different services that are provided. The major service that's provided is for specific learning disabilities, followed by speech, mental retardation, preschool disabled, serious emotional impairments, other health ailments, multiple disabilities, orthopedic impairments, hearing impairments, visual impairments, and development delay, in that order. So this is the areas of challenge. Black students, by far, are identified in need of special needs services in the area of intellectual disability, emotional disturbance, and specific learning disability. And so let's talk a little bit about intellectual disability. That involves general mental abilities in 2 very different areas. The first one is intellectual functioning. That involves learning, problem solving, and judgment. The second one is adaptive functioning. And this is everyday life experiences such as communication and independent living. And there are 3 major areas of adaptive functioning, which are conceptual, social, and practical. Now, under conceptual, it's more geared towards academics, such as language, reading, writing, math, reasoning, knowledge, and memory. Under socials, there's empathy, social judgment, communication, the ability to follow rules, and the ability to make and keep friendships. Now, I underline the ability to follow rules because for me, that is a little problematic. I think you have to teach rules, especially as an educator. All children know how to follow rules. And so I think we really need to look at why they don't want to follow your rules. So there's also practical, which is in independence in such areas as personal care, job responsibilities, managing money, recreation, and organizing school and work tasks. So the next category is emotional disturbance, which is a condition that exhibits one of the following: the inability to learn, and they can't explain it or blame it on something else. It's also the inability to build or maintain satisfactory interpersonal relationships with peers and teachers. And I highlighted teachers because I think that's problematic. Just because a child doesn't really want to have an interpersonal relationship with you should not qualify them for special education. And then there's inappropriate types of behavior or feelings under normal circumstances. What is normal? That for me, that's subjective. And then it's just a general persuasive mood of unhappiness or depression. Now, remember, I was working as a preschool substitute principal, and I had a couple parents complain to me that there was this one teacher who every morning she was telling the preschool child that she looked so sad. And I told the teacher, I said, you have to stop doing that. I said, because those parents could come back and sue you. You know, there's a theory called the self-fulfilling prophecy. And so what I did was I put a doctor in the middle, and I told her, I said, if you feel like she's having some challenges with the way she feels, let's send her down to the doctor to make that evaluation, because you don't have a license to make that evaluation. And so finally, there's a tendency to develop physical symptoms or fears associated with personal or school problems. Next, there are specific learning disabilities. And so they target learning disabilities if you're having difficulty in a certain area over 6 months. And those areas include reading, comprehension, spelling, writing, understanding math, concepts, facts, as well as mathematical reasoning. And then there's also having academic skills that are substantially below what is expected and cause problems in school. So you have to have both. And so this is one of the things that happens to a lot of our Black kids, is that if they get in the classroom and they get frustrated, they get disappointed, or they're just not interested in what the teacher is teaching, they will do other things that could be problematic to the teacher. Because you have to remember, in school, they're looking to teach children to follow a structure. And so what I'm saying is, if a child is not following your structure, then maybe we have to do a better job at teaching it and not putting it off to people who are involved in special education and then placing that label on them. And so first goal, and all my goals today will be for parents: following rules. If you have a young person, teach them to put their toys back and establish routines. Now, I have a 7-year-old godson, and he comes and stays with us often. And he has a routine. Like when we get up in the morning for Sunday morning to go to church, he knows he's got to make his bed up. And see, the thing about him is he'll want to run and play with his little game thing, or whatever you call it. And I have to come back and tell him, no, you got to put your toys back. You got to make your bed up. But I'm establishing routines for him, and I'm teaching him to follow rules. And so then that way, when he gets in a situation like a school and they're asking him to follow rules, he can remember, well, there's rules over Goddaddy's house as well as home, okay? And so problem solving, teach your children problem solving. Normally when a child has a problem, the first thing is they're very excited. So the first thing you want to do is teach them to take a deep breath. Just take a deep breath, let it go. And then you want them to tell you about the problem. And then you and your child brainstorm solutions. Have you ever thought about this? And you don't have to tell them, but you want to tell them, have you thought about this? You can also tell them what the consequences are. if they do whatever it is they're going to, whatever it is that they recommend. Next is making and keeping friends. Let them have play dates. Or even if you play with them, teach them how to play. Teach them how to play games. Teach them how to play the athletic games and teach them the rules within those games. Now, I used to be a family therapist as well as a behavioral therapist. And one of the greatest things that you can do for a child's socialization is to take them to the playground. Now, I know we are in times where close contact is not as well wanted, but anything that you can get them to interact with other children will help them out with the socialization. You also want to teach them personal care. Teach them to brush their teeth. Teach them how to wash themselves, because these are the things that special education officials or personnel look at. You also want to reward them for appropriate communication. When they say things that are good, give them a reward. And it doesn't have to be money. It doesn't have to be candy. It could be a high five. Also, do what I like to call household math. Now, if you look around your house, there's plenty of geometry. There's circles, there's squares, there's rectangles. There's all kinds of geometry. And just have your child identify them. That's it. You can begin right there. So, second goal, to reduce emotional disturbance possibilities. Teach them to control their anger. But first of all, you have to model that for them. If you are a parent that gets angry and flies off the handle, guess who else is going to do it? Because they're standing or they're sitting there and they're watching you and they're thinking, oh, this is the right behavior. And they'll take it to school and then you'll wonder where it came from. So the first thing you got to do is you got to reflect on how you manage anger. And you teach them to manage anger in a positive way. You can teach them the rules for anger. You also can teach them belly breathing, which I talked about earlier, which is deep breathing. Teach them to count to 10. My godson, when he was like 3, oh my gosh, he used to get angry. And I used to say, boy, I'm gonna have to help this boy. And so I would have him breathe. I would have him count to 10. And after practicing that for a while, I saw that his anger subsided and he started doing other things instead of always expressing anger. You want to teach consequences for anger. And then, you want to practice the body signals. So let's talk about facial signals. You can tell them, I want you to make an angry face. And then let them see that angry face in the mirror and let them know, see, this is what happens. This is what you look like when you are angry. And so if you know that, and I would have them close their eyes so they can feel it. If you know that this is the feeling, then let's use some of these techniques like counting to 10 or belly breathing. Also, have them close their eyes, make an angry face, and notice how their body is reacting. Are their fists clenched? Are their arms tight? Those type of things. And once you get them to get in tune to notice those things, they will know what the warning signs are. They will know how to bring themselves down. And then you don't have to worry about them being classified as emotionally disturbed, and they're not. The research says that Black kids are 4 times more likely to be considered angry when compared to white kids, and they may not even be angry. So, next goal, reduce specific learning disabilities. And so take your child, look at books with them, look at catalogs with them. If you like to cook, get them to look at the recipe book with you. Sing songs with them. Help them name the parts of their body, because these are the first things they begin to learn. When you go to the supermarket, get them to name what these items are, because one day they're going to be an adult. And when they become an adult, you can't shop for them. And then once again, like I said, household math. Now, one of the exercises that I like to teach parents to use is to model the transitions in the classroom. And so what you do is you start teaching your young person how to play a game. And it could be a card game. And we have many dollar stores. You can go to dollar store and you can get a card game, and you can teach them how to play matching, or there's another game called I Declare War, or Go Fish. Go Fish is a more friendly term, so let's take that other one back. And then what you do is you play that game for like 5 minutes, and then you have them sit and fold their hands. Then you could play another game or a different game. And this models the classroom, because the classroom is broken up into about 7 or 8 academic areas, academic areas. And most of the kids get in trouble when they're transitioning from one area to the next. And so by you playing games with them in the home and teaching them to fold their hands while they're waiting for the next game to start, you're teaching them to manage themselves through transitions in the classroom. And so what did we talk about? We talked about the special education tips for parents. We looked at the statistics. We looked at the types of services. We looked at the challenge areas for Black students, which include intellectual disability, emotional disturbance, and specific learning disabilities. And then we talked about how to reduce those activities for intellectual disability, emotional disturbance, specific learning disabilities. And these are things that you can do right at home. And so I want to talk about the contest. We do have a weekly contest. And what happens is we have a symposium where you can go and you can talk about the different things that you want to talk about. It's like the anti-racism Facebook. Because if you do it on Facebook, they're going to kick you off. And so we have a place where you can come and talk about those topics. You can agree and you can disagree with other people. But if you go to quarantineracism.com, the anti-racism symposium, and you go in and register, you can use your Facebook credentials or email. And when you register, you make a suggestion. And if we use your suggestion, we will send you a free t-shirt. And as you can see, we have the Vogue series, which is in pink, and it's also available in other colors. And then we have the Revolutionary series, which is in yellow, as well as other colors. And so take an opportunity and go voice your opinion and win a prize at the same time. And so, as I said before, become a contributor. Sign up, start your own topic, and you can use Facebook or your email. And so we'll have another session next Thursday. We're on LinkedIn, we're on Facebook. This is Dr. Campbell. Have a great evening, and thank you very much.